Welcome back, Rebel fans. You're listening to another episode of the Rebel Talk presented by the Rebel Walk. I'm Cam Wicker, and as always, I'm here with
Zach Mareth.
and today we have another very special guest returning to the show, just as he was a few months back earlier in the spring when he first got here. Defensive back for Ole Miss, Lewis Moore. Lewis is second on the team in tackles right now, coming off a huge win against Middle Tennessee this past weekend. Opened the season up with a huge win over Furman. I just wanted to get him on the show today to give you guys some updates on how the defensive looking and how a player, I guess, from a player standpoint, on how this season's starting to play out. The main thing I wanted to start off with you, Lewis, is how's the defense looking as a whole? How do you feel this is all coming together as the season progresses so far?
Through the first two games, I feel like we done did good as far as not allowing points wise. The first game we did good overall. Second game, our run defense was very good, but our pass coverage wasn't too good as far as letting up catches. I feel like that came down to like miscommunication back there. It wasn't as far as like just getting beat, but we've been working hard this week. We know that as far as that concept of the game that was on the back end, like the back five last week, and we've been working hard this week, getting everything better. So I feel like that ain't gonna be too much of an issue going forward. And then as far as like total defense, I feel like we're coming together. Like it was our first time. Like we had like our transfers and a lot of new guys. I feel like we all coming together to see how everybody play. And these first two games was good. Like I feel like we played well with that being our first time playing together. And I feel like we just continue to build on it.
Yeah, so Lewis, again, against Middle Tennessee, it looked like they found some of those passing plays to be successful later in the second half. Do you think that's more of a mental lapse type situation? Because when you look at the scoreboard and it's like 52-0, I feel like for me personally, it'd probably be pretty difficult to try and focus as well as I would when it's like 0-0.
Nah, I wouldn't say it's as far as taking plays off from that aspect. Honestly, I feel like it was bad breaks, including me, and as a whole room, we just had bad breaks coming out of that. But we don't watch the film. We ain't got it out correctly. We don't worked on all that this week. I feel like it ain't hard playing up that much though, because as the season go on, I would like games to be that way, like playing other ISC opponents. But if it's not, it's just something that we continually worked on. Like even in the summer, we're doing like our summer conditioning, our spring conditioning. We got to finish those like after even practicing. So I feel like we're ready for it. We done prepared for it. So it's just that same mentality from the top of the depth chart to the bottom. We are gonna finish, and I feel like we done did that well. Even with like they had some success moving the ball on us, but when it got down to that red zone, filled up. So they only got 3 coming out of it. So in the past 2 weeks.
Absolutely. The defense as a whole has only allowed 54 total rushing yards through the first 2 weeks of football. Just how much easier does it make that for you guys in the secondary when the defensive line and the linebackers are doing things like that?
I'll make it much easier because the plays been going by quick. And then even if something do break, because I feel like in the back end, just knowing my teammates now, being with them, we are running to the ball. And it's really because I feel like that's one thing that I try to like stand out on, like as I've been playing in my college career. But now that I've been playing back there with my teammates, every player race to the ball. And that's why I like it like that, because if you got everybody chasing at you, people ain't gonna want to do that, and people ain't gonna know what to do. You gotta let people find to the ball, just make it harder for the offense. But I like it like that though. I see it as a challenge, because now I'm racing to the bar and I know I got somebody else racing to me. So it's a good mentality to have though.
100%, man. Yeah, you guys, like Cam said, in terms of the rushing game and even the passing game, the defense just looks unstoppable. Just how do you feel? What's it like playing with Pete Golding and having Zach Arnett in the booth, Lou? Do you think there's any difference, any positive difference in comparison to having them on the field during the game?
I feel like being up high where they in the box and having 2 small minds like them, they can see it before we see it. Like on the field, they see the formation, they see everything, people moving around, and then making them calls. The calls that he make, it really do put us in position to make plays. So I do like that he up there seeing that, and it make it easier for us in that spirit.
Yes, sir. And then at the same time, how does that kind of benefit with the helmet communication? And is TJ Daugherty the one who is able to communicate with them throughout the game?
I'm not sure about that. I feel like it do help, because if you want to check something, you just tell him, and then TJ give us the signal. We can do that.
Got it. Okay.
But as far as who got it, I don't know who got it. But it do. I feel like it do help though.
Lewis, I know it's the past couple weeks, just especially over that last game, seemed like you played down in the box a lot more. It seemed like you and John Sanders joined those linebackers in the box pretty often. How do you feel comfortable in that role? How often did you play that role in the past? And when kind of did Pete tell you that that's what you'd be doing when you got here?
I am comfortable in that role. In my college career I haven't played it yet, but so since I've been here, I feel like doing foul cap I was excelling at free safety, and then I was doing good. So then we had a conversation. It was like, I want you to learn everywhere too. So I ain't got no problem playing that. With that, I feel like it undeveloped my cover skills though. Because as far as tackling wise, I feel like I always been a good tackler. And then being close to the line of scrimmage, I can take my shot and bring some more power through my tackles and not be more conservative coming from the top. Like if something break, I can just get them down. But now I get to get in there, hit, and then display my cover skills too. So I like that too.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. Again, you're doing a great job with that. Just heading into this weekend, any early thoughts or anything you've noticed from the film when watching Wake Forest, Lou?
They run a unique offense. It's something I ain't seen yet. Like everybody got their own styles, but this offense that we're playing is something different. They throw the ball a lot. They got a talented running back, but it's just gonna be interesting showing. It's gonna be interesting to show like how we respond from last week. Like I told you, we put in a lot of work this week to correct all the wrongs that we did last week, and then I feel like even though I feel like we played good, but it wasn't our best, nowhere near our best. But it'd be a challenge going against an ACC opponent. I ain't never played no ACC opponent either, and we going on the road, and I feel like it's gonna be a good. Well, I feel like we should beat them, but it's gonna be a good game, and I'm ready to show what we can do though. It's gonna be interesting.
Absolutely. I think that's all I got for you, Lewis. If that's all Zach's got for you.
Yeah, Lou. Again, I'm excited for this weekend, man. Let's get another one.
Let's do it.
All right. We appreciate it, guys. This is Lewis Moore. Looking forward to seeing him this weekend, 5:30 in Winston-Salem when they take on Wake Forest. That's all we got for you, Lou, and we'll be back. Me and Zach will be back after the break to talk a little bit more about Middle Tennessee last week and the upcoming matchup against Wake Forest.
Appreciate y'all.
Welcome back, guys. And that was Lewis Moore, defensive back for Ole Miss, second leading tackler on the team, right behind Chris Paul Jr. Glad to have him on the podcast today. Second time he's been on, and looking forward to seeing him this weekend. Zach wanted to hop right into Middle Tennessee last weekend, though. Another huge game for the Rebel defense. Not great in the passing game at times. Seemed like there was some broken coverages at some point. Maybe some miscommunication back there on some of the drives that Middle Tennessee was just driving downfield. But even when Middle Tennessee was driving downfield, it seemed like the Rebel defense was just coming up big and trying to just stand tall as much as they could, only allowing 28 rushing yards on the day, under 30 yards again for the second straight week for that run defense for Ole Miss. It seemed like at times, like especially in the first quarter there before Walter Nolan kind of just didn't really play much in that second half. It seemed like Walter Nolan was just disrupting every single play. It seemed like him and J.J. Pegues were in the backfield every single play.
Yeah, the defensive line, they were clogging the gaps all game long. You know, I was sitting in the student section, and there was never a point where there was an open gap for the running back. They're disruptive. And again, we're taking it piece by piece because it was Middle Tennessee. It's not like an SEC opponent. But that's what you do to these teams. You know, you dominate, and you really start to establish yourself. I want to give a shout-out to Henry Parrish, absolute dog. Last weekend, ran for 165 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a really impressive performance, especially for an area of this Ole Miss team, which has kind of probably been the biggest question mark heading into this season after the loss of Quinshon Judkins. There's a lot of conversation about Ulysses Bentley. I don't really know what's going on. I think Ulysses, he's proven to us that he's an SEC running back. I'm not real sure why he's playing. He isn't playing a lot. Maybe they're trying to preserve his health because he has had a history of injuries. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Cam.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about, too. I know last week Bentley did get some carries late in that second half, kind of late in the third quarter. I think he got 5 carries on the game, like 13 yards. Wasn't really doing a lot. I think he had 2 carries in that first matchup. And I don't recall him warming up too much before that first game, but I remember seeing him warm up and catch punts and everything before that game against Middle Tennessee, thinking he was going to be out there a lot during that game, but just didn't really see much of him. Like you said, Henry Parrish was an absolute workhorse out there. But as far as I know, it seems like it might be an injury thing with Bentley, like you said, something just kind of precautionary, making sure you have those extra backs once you get into the SEC games, which is in 2 weeks now against Kentucky. And obviously, this obviously gives other guys a chance, like Rashad Amos, even Matt Jones, who's had, I guess, 3 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. Matt Jones has had 11 carries this past week. Matt Jones had Rashad Amos got some carries late in that game, broke off a big run against Middle Tennessee late in that game last week. Seen a little bit out of Dominique Thomas as well. So I guess this kind of on the good half of Bentley being out, you kind of get to see all these other running backs and what they're capable of, and knowing that you got that depth in that room. But looking forward to seeing what they do with Bentley this weekend. Haven't really heard much this past week about that situation. We know Watkins made his season debut last week. Probably going to play again this week. We'll see what his ability looks like this weekend, but still up in the air on Bentley.
100%. Interesting situation nonetheless. Logan Diggs continues to hint at a return on his Twitter. I'm going out on a prediction here. If I'm wrong, you guys can all tear me down. That's fine. I think he will be back hopefully by the Arkansas game and fully for the Georgia game. So you're looking at the end of October going into November. I think he'll really start to emerge, and then that's when your running back room turns from really good to almost elite, Cam. Logan Diggs is a guy who's done it at Notre Dame. He tore up Ole Miss last year at LSU. He has experience all over the place in college football, and he's going to be really special when he comes back. So again, I don't know if he will, but that's my prediction. He keeps tweeting, which I like. Keep it up, Logan. Keep up the tweets. But that would be a huge addition for Ole Miss. And then just looking at this week, Cam, we were talking about it a little bit before we recorded, but just your thoughts on Wake Forest heading into Saturday.
Absolutely. Ole Miss opened up that game as a 22.5 favorite in that game. Just looking at some past facts real quick. Ole Miss has lost twice, and the only 2 matchups to them in 2006 and 2008. Those are the only 2 matchups between those 2 teams. But the Ole Miss will get another shot this weekend. First road game for Ole Miss, looking to see how they're going to handle that. I know Jackson Dart said a couple of weeks ago he's looking to see how this team handles adversity. This could be that first shot at it. Even though you're such a high favorite over this Wake Forest team, you're bound to face some adversity maybe in those first couple drives.
Yeah.
Maybe crowd gets a little too loud, and you just got to see how you handle it. And this isn't going to be equivalent to going, I guess, to Gainesville later in the year, or going to Baton Rouge in a couple of weeks, but going to a place that's a Power 4 school and going to Winston-Salem, it's going to be a rowdier crowd. And looking forward to seeing how they're handling that. I know Princely talked about that later this week too, that he's looking forward to seeing how this team does on the road. Looking forward to seeing how he does really in general this week too. Got his first sack last week, didn't really break out a lot this year, but we'll see how that progresses as he gets healthier as the year goes on too. But going back to Wake Forest, Hank Bachmeier is the quarterback for Wake Forest. Seems like he's going to throw it around a little bit more than the opponents have in the past for Ole Miss, as far as Furman and Middle Tennessee did. I believe he threw for about 407 yards, 408 yards last week against Virginia on 42 attempts. So he's going to sling it around. He's got 2 solid receivers. He's got a twitchy running back who doesn't really catch it a lot out of the backfield, but he runs hard and kind of gets that pressure off of the pass game a little bit when they give him the ball. And he's got a safety valve at tight end too. So this Wake Forest offense is going to have a lot of motion in that offense too. They're gonna keep that Ole Miss defense on their toes, try to, I guess, open up that run game with a lot of that motion too. So it's gonna be exciting to see, I guess, really how this Ole Miss defense handles it, how Pete Golden kind of game plans. I know these past 2 games has kind of been like, at times you see 6 guys in the box for Ole Miss. Are they going to be able to do that against Wake Forest, against a Power 4 school that can spread it around a little bit more? We're yet to see that. But it's going to be exciting to see what the Ole Miss defense does for sure.
I'm really looking forward to it, Cam. One of the things kind of off the field that stands out for me is that this is the only road game that Ole Miss has before they travel to Columbia to play South Carolina, a team who looked pretty damn good against Kentucky with a fan base in a stadium that can hold around 90,000 people. So you're going from it's Wake Forest, it's a Power 4 school, but you're playing in a stadium of 30,000 people. And then your next test on the road is going to be in a packed out stadium who really doesn't like Ole Miss for the Juice Wells situation of 90,000 screaming fans. So, how do you kind of prepare yourself to go against Wake Forest and try and simulate that situation as much as possible, while keeping in the back of your head that the next time you're hopping on that bus, it's SEC play. and you're going to a stadium filled with people who really, really don't like you. So it's exciting. It's going to be a great test. Wake Forest, again, ACC team. So you're going against players who Power Four players. You're not going against these FCS guys, and that's no disrespect, but there is a difference, especially in like physical size and just sheer ability. And I know Wake Forest wasn't the best team last year. They haven't shown to be the best team this year, losing to Virginia 31-30 last week. But again, on paper, they're much improved and they're much better coached. It's going to be a much better test for the Rebels, and I fully expect them to go in there. I do want to give out a little score prediction, Cam. I'm thinking Ole Miss hits 49 this week, and I'm going to give Wake Forest 10 points. I'm going 49-10, Cam.
Yeah, that's more than anyone else has scored on Ole Miss so far. It's going to be, I guess, probably shocking. It might even make a little bit of waves on Twitter, on X. My apologies on X for when Ole Miss finally does let up that first touchdown of the year, only giving up 3 last week. Could have easily gave up 7 last week, but they fought to not give up 7 in a lot of cases. So it's gonna be interesting to see when they finally get scored on. I guess we'll have to see how they handle it, but I'm sure it'll just be another touchdown that they won't worry about, especially if it's one that doesn't really put them in a deficit at all. But going back really just to that Wake Forest game, the defense for Wake Forest, even in that 31-point loss, even that 31-30 point loss to Virginia last week, it seemed like Wake Forest had their way against the Virginia rushing attack, and that could be vital for Ole Miss if Ole Miss can get that run game going early and then open up the pass game. Virginia threw for 357 yards against Wake Forest last week. We know what Jackson Dart's capable of. We know what Jackson Dart did last week and the week before that. He's kind of boosted himself to a Heisman platform at this point, one of the more elite quarterbacks in college football. At least being talked about right now on that level with guys like Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Shadur Sanders. Jackson Dart's kind of put himself in that category, and I'm excited to see how this offense is going to handle that once they meet an opponent, I guess, that can stop them finally, because it seemed like last week, did Ole Miss punt last? I don't believe Ole Miss punted last week, did they, Zach?
No.
Ole Miss didn't punt last week. There was no turnovers. There hasn't really been any costly penalties. So like I said earlier, this Ole Miss team hasn't faced a lot of adversity yet, haven't really had to. We'll have to see how that pans out this weekend. But I really believe this Ole Miss offense is firing on all cylinders. And with a defense giving up 357 yards passing last week, it's got to be Jackson Dart salivating looking at that this week.
Yeah, I'm very concerned for the Wake Forest passing defense. Like you said, Virginia did a really good job, Cam, and I think Jackson Dart's going to go in there and really expose them from the opening drive. I will say in Trey Harris's press conference this week and Lane Kiffin's, they both talked about establishing the run because that's what you have to do on the road, right? It's going to be a little hectic, something they're not used to, a little more chaotic. So you get the run game established here, and that opens up play action. That opens those deep balls down the field for Trey Harris and Juice Wells. So we'll see, how is Henry Parrish going to go out there and set the tone? I will say I think Ole Miss is going to score on that first drive, maybe first 2. I'm excited to see what happens when their set plays kind of run out, and it's up to Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin to kind of put together a game plan based on what they're seeing from Wake Forest. So we can get a look at how this team is adapting throughout the game against hopefully some better competition that you'll see stepping up from in terms of improvements from Middle Tennessee and Furman.
Absolutely. We haven't seen Ole Miss open up the playbook much on offense. Even on defense, you're kind of seeing like they're running like set concepts, which that's normally the game plan when it comes to defense. You're running a couple concepts every week, planning to stop that team's offense. But even on offense, you don't see a lot of motion like you've seen in the past for Ole Miss so far these first 2 weeks. You don't see a lot of jets. Don't see a lot of like throws out of the backfield like usual, trying to open up that the outside boundaries for the receivers and everything. But we'll probably see that this weekend at some point. You have to believe, especially at least early in the game. Like you said, if Ole Miss pulls away, maybe they go back to I guess the regular offense they ran these past couple of weeks. But it's gonna be exciting to see them kind of open up that playbook and see what Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. can draw up. Even Joe Judge on the sideline, seeing him in Jackson Dart's ear and just coaching him up on the sideline, seeing what those guys can draw up for these elite playmakers that Jackson Dart just has surrounding him in every spot.
It's going to be a lot of fun, Cam. Again, I got 49-10. What do you got this weekend, Cam?
I think Ole Miss can put up 50 again. I think they make a statement this
Oh,
week and put up 51 on the road. I'm gonna go 51-17 Ole Miss.
okay. I like it, bro. All right,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
5:30
I think that's
p.m.
all we got for you guys.
I'm excited, bro. Yes, sir. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's all we got. Yeah, 5:30 p.m. Like Zach said on the CW network. No clue where that's going on. I
Yeah.
seen I think it was either TJ or Caleb Shaler's. Shout out to both those guys. They both said, is it coming on after or before Supernatural? So we'll have to see how that works on the CW. Never, I don't even know if a football game's ever been played on the CW, but
Yeah.
happening this weekend. Games at 5:30, not 6:30. If you've seen 6:30 Eastern, that means it's 6:30 in North Carolina when they play, not 6:30 here. So 5:30 if you're watching from Oxford or anywhere in the central area. Yeah, it should be a big weekend. Number 5 ranked team, Ole Miss, heading to Winston-Salem. Going to be exciting to see how they handle that. I think that's all we got, Zach, right?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Cam.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for bearing with that with us with Lewis Moore in the beginning. Shout out to Lewis Moore for getting on the show with us, and I think that's all we got for you guys. Make sure to tune to the Rebel Walk for all your Ole Miss sports needs.